All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Bill and Bob, the best place for sports discussion. All right, so our next topic here today is the situation that involves Chris Paul.
CP3.
Yes. If you're not aware,
City.
Chris Paul was on a Thursday game on February 5th. It was the Los Angeles Clippers and the Cleveland Cavaliers, a game that I believe the Cavaliers won pretty handily. And Chris Paul had less than nice words to say about female referee Lauren Holtkamp. And he ended up getting fined for $25,000 now.
Well,
So let's get your take on this, Will.
Well, my take, Rob. Well, first off, while I was out there earlier before, we did hear that one of our friends, Joey Archino, if you're from Iona, you know him as Jersey Joe, and Benzino, one of our friends here that's in studio right now, that they saw Miss Holtkamp refereeing a game for the Knicks D-League affiliate
Westchester Knicks.
Up in White Plains, Westchester Knicks. And, you know, I don't really agree with the fine because...
Me neither. I'll have to agree with you on that one, Bill. You know, so you go ahead and start.
But the reason I don't agree with it, and I'm not really going to get into a whole debate about the place of women in sports or anything like that, first of all, because it's pretty simple what CP3 said. He said something about blah, blah, blah. I don't agree with her.
Some of the calls that you were making were
but what was he supposed to call her besides her? It's a pronoun that it's right to call a woman of the female gender. Does she want to be called a him? Because if Miss Holtkamp wants to be called a him, then I'm sure CP3 could call her him. But what else was he supposed to say?
You know,
I think that's where this whole problem comes from. When you look at the issue, this narrative spread by the feminist groups or the liberal groups on the issue about, oh, athletes don't like women. No, that isn't what they're trying to do. It's just a ploy by them, by these organizations to go bolster the media ID. And that's wrong.
I feel like,
and it's sad.
This story was completely blown out of proportion, you know.
Correct.
She should have been, like, when Chris Paul said those statements, he didn't say those statements thinking her of as a woman. He said thinking of her as an NBA official. And if she didn't make correct calls and he thought the officiating was bad, then he thought the officiating was bad. You know, and, you know, normally, you know, players don't really mouth off about referees. But every player has pretty much the same sentiment towards us. They don't like refs. You know,
well, I mean,
terrible calls.
CP3 does have a history. He has 78 technical fouls already. But, you know, I'm not going to say that there's no place for women in the NBA.
Oh, absolutely not.
Because that's definitely not the case. But I think that... How should I word this? I think that you should be able to ref if you have the qualities, and
officiating should be based off merit rather than
it should be based off merit. And I don't think that the NBA should be pushing forward a diversity of referees just because of the sake of diversity. I think that it should be pushing forward the best quality of refs, whether or not it's female or male.
So what you're saying is that they basically hired Miss Holtkamp to officiate these games because she's a woman?
I'm saying that there's definitely a social aspect to this, and I'm not for certain, but I do believe that there definitely are ways that professional sports organizations do try to influence social culture and everything like that, and this may be a ploy, may not be. But if the NBA really wants to keep Miss Holtkamp in the NBA and she isn't really doing her job, just for the sake that she's a woman, then that's wrong. I think that it should definitely try to diversify, but only do it in the context that every single ref is capable of reffing an NBA game. Now, there's a big difference between reffing an NBA D-League game and an NBA game.
But at the end of the day, it's still basketball. You know, you have to officiate it correctly, you know, so it doesn't
Correct.
matter whether it's D-League, NBA, college, whatever.
Exactly.
You have to officiate this game, you know. And now, all right, let's say this. Let's say that she gets fired because of, you know, bad officiating or things of that nature. Could you imagine the backlash that will receive? Referees get fired all the time in any sport, you know, and if...
But they're males. but they're males. So
it doesn't really matter.
So honestly, what you're gonna do is you're gonna have these feminist advocacy groups coming up. They're gonna say, "Oh, you got rid of her just because she's a woman." That would not be the case. You got rid of her because she was not able to ref properly.
Exactly. So.
And this is all being blown out of proportion and spewed on by.
Blown to smithereens.
Spewed on by the liberal media, MSNBC, CBS, blah blah blah, ABC, and also ESPN, just to jump up the advertising ratings.
ESPN's been known for this anyway. They've been known to have a history of, sensationalizing stories just for revenue, just for viewers, ratings, and all that. So this is really nothing new. And
it's extremely poor on their behalf.
If I can recall, it wasn't too long ago, just 3 weeks ago, Deflategate. Personally, I'm not a huge Patriot fan myself, but Deflategate. Obviously, we all heard the scandal. During an AFC Championship game against the Colts, it was reported that Patriots players underinflated some footballs to their advantage. Now, first of all, they didn't really need it because most of the touchdowns were rushing. Oh no, wait. Well, yeah, and that's first off. And even if it was passing, they didn't because it was a blowout anyway. That's first. And second, they were underinflated by I think 1.5 pounds or half a pound square inch, and they make it seem like, you could like squeeze them with like your hand. They completely blow out of proportion just to make the New England Patriots look bad. Although,
Rob, we're getting a little bit off subject on the issue, but I understand.
This kind of references the whole,
I understand. I definitely understand. But I would like to ask you this question: do you believe that the NBA, NHL, NFL, and MLB should allow for females to participate in a league that has been dominated by males?
Absolutely. Now when I say absolutely, I'm not saying in baseball or hire female umpires. I'm not talking about like some affirmative action type deal. Where you just allow female umpires just because they're female. If they officiate correctly, if they know the rule book inside and out, then give them a shot.
No, I'm talking about playing.
Oh, playing.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Oh, that absolutely is. I like playing on words, but well, in basketball, it's already done. There's a WNBA. I mean, it's nowhere near as popular as NBA, of course, but they already have. I don't think they're gonna get rid of that. That's always gonna be a thing. But I feel like maybe in a sport like baseball, this might sound a little sexist, but the perception is that women aren't as physically built as men are. So,
But for the most part, just when you look at the anatomy of the human body, that's how it is built.
Yeah.
And I mean,
but saying that men are stronger than women is a misconception. They're more built. They have more.
Yes, they have more physical capacity for strength, but that does not mean that certain women are not stronger than certain men.
Oh, and absolutely. There are plenty of females who are stronger than a lot of men. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
So, the perception is that football and even in some cases basketball, American football, I'm talking about, they're physical sports. And also women already have their own league in basketball.
Exactly. If women choose to want to participate in these sports, I believe that just like you have in high school and even in professional ranks, you have different leagues like the WNBA, that they should go create a WNFL. But
I mean, if you think about it, they already have a lingerie football
league.
That's not
out in Brooklyn at the Aviator Field Complex.
But that's not really, what women were looking for. I mean, the women were participating in it. Great for them.
I mean, it would change the whole aspect of the ball game, and also what you do about.
I just feel like I'm setting you off there, but I just feel like women. Excuse me. Football is extremely physical.
It's a man's sport. Let's call a spade a spade.
But a lot of men cannot play that game.
No, a lot of men cannot. But so, I think that another big aspect of it is what happens to the locker culture. It's gonna change around the entire locker culture and the entire way that people really interact in that locker room, because the professional sports world, whether you like it or not, it's a world that is an animal unto itself.
Absolutely.
That is, even though these people are making millions and millions of dollars, it is
they still fall victim to temptation.
Yes, but even more than that, it is an environment built on being basically an animal within your arena or within your sport for that certain time. It's an environment that embraces bravado and masculinity, and it's basically a warrior culture. And in modern day society, when you look at the environment of the locker rooms in professional sports, kind of mirrors I think that this is a good comparison.
Did you say a zoo?
No, I think it mirrors the gang culture in a sort of way, because the same mentality that you have in the gang culture, you do see carry over into the professional sports ranks when you're talking about players.
I mean, there's a reason for that. Obviously, a lot of these athletes, they come from backgrounds, and that's the way they live. That's the way they are.
Yeah. So
I'm not saying that these guys are bad guys.
No. I'm just saying the whole way of looking at life and that whole narrative, and to go feminize that whole culture, it's going to take that masculinity or bravado that has really made professional sports in America what it really is, and it's something else.
And also, I feel like it'd be a little dangerous as well, because we all hear these cases of these NFL players, with all these charges of sexual assault, especially in the NFL. I mean, it happens in other sports too. Could you imagine if these NFL players if they can't, stop temptation to go out and commit sexual assaults on women who are just maybe like they're messing around with or whatever, and imagine having that same presence in a locker room dominated by physically built monsters in a locker room, that wouldn't spell well. If the NFL
physically built monsters, an environment full of testosterone, masculinity, and bravado, with the prey, extremely physically built and attractive woman in such culture, that right there, that's a culture prime for sexual abuse and sexual assault.
Oh, and also they can't. Some people might think that a good idea would be to, make her have her own space or whatever, but, that's segregation. Nobody's willing to say that they're basically segregating the women from the men
Correct.
in the locker room. So, I feel like, women, I think, I don't know how to say this. I feel like women in sports, I think they kind of have it well. Maybe not perfect. Maybe in their world it'd be a little better. Maybe they wish that their sports are a little more popular, but I feel like what they have is personally is good enough. I mean, I'm not trying to generalize.
But hold on, Rob. You brought up an interesting point, and I think that's a point that has to be addressed. And I heard Stephen A. Smith say something similar about this before, where at colleges and the NCAA, programs like lacrosse or baseball or ice hockey at big football and basketball schools, they complain that they aren't getting enough money or something like that for their programs. Well, you might not be getting that amount of money, because what money are you producing for the school? This is a capitalistic driven society.
It's all about money.
It's all about money, baby. And everyone likes that green.
Exactly.
So if the feminist advocacy groups and the WNBA and the softball leagues, if they want their sports to go be at the same level as the NFL or MLB,
they'd have to sell out.
They have to sell out, and I mean, they also have to bring up the level of competition to match the other leagues. And until they do that, I think that would be unfair for the media to go say, hey, we're going to go cover the WNBA on Sunday night instead of the Bulls-Lakers game. I think that would be unfair, because it's a capitalistic-driven society, and you have to reward talent at its highest level.
They always say the customer's always right, and in this case, the customers are the fans who watch.
Stu Leonard's. The customer's always right.
Yeah, and people...
Right out of Yonkers, New York.
And, people...
From my Yonkers people watching.
And, people want to see, professional basketball play men, NBA. That's what they want to see. It's a sad truth, but that's just the way it is.
Yes.
They've worked themselves up to gain that popularity, and they deserve to be rewarded for that popularity.
Huh.
And they should play that over, WNBA games. And, that's just the nature of the beast. There's no really other way you can put
it. Well, there is one saving hope for the WNBA. When Robert and I were down at Madison Square Garden a few weeks ago, we were talking to this guy, and his favorite basketball team was the New York Liberty, so...
So it kind of looks like it's looking up for the WNBA, but
looking out for the WNBA, but I don't know if he likes the talent there. He might like something else, but
that's getting a little optimistic. So we'll just leave it at that. But back to the whole Chris Paul thing. I know we dove a little deep, but this whole Chris Paul thing, it's just typical, yellow journalism, sensationalizing stories, trying to sell papers, get readers.
And also the NBA just trying to please everyone, all the social groups, and also the NBA just trying to please all the social advocacy groups out there, and not really trying to say anything politically incorrect. And I think that's wrong for the NBA. The NBA has to stand up for its players and the people that actually do produce the products. And with that, I think that we're all done for this segment, and we will come back with an NBA midseason report. And thank you.